quiet unease that lingers in spaces built atop memory, in the air where the past has not been honored. Luxury, grandeur, opulence, these are the surface, the outward expression, the glittering hallways and sparkling pools. Yet beneath the marble floors, beneath the manicured gardens, beneath the architecture designed to awe, there lies the imprint of history, of lives once lived, of resting souls whose presence can never truly be erased. It is subtle, almost imperceptible, yet it can be felt by the attentive. Not because the world is haunted in the way stories claim, but because consciousness remembers what the body forgets. Every place carries its history. Every act of displacement carries consequence. Every pursuit of comfort without awareness invites shadow. People walk through these resorts believing themselves free, believing themselves masters of space and time. They carry bags, wallets, expectations, and a deep unspoken desire for ease. They swim in infinity pools, dine on delicacies prepared by countless hands, lounge on chairs overlooking the ocean, yet even in their indulgence, a subtle weight presses upon the spirit. The environment may seem perfect, but perfection is merely a reflection. The true measure is not the luxury, but the alignment of the heart inhabiting it. One can be surrounded by beauty and still feel the chill of neglect, the echo of dissonance, the shadow of moral compromise. The truth is that wealth does not erase conscience. Money does not anesthetize the soul. The deeper the opulence, the more visible the gaps in awareness, the more apparent the misalignment between comfort and integrity. And those who have ignored history, who have forgotten the sacredness of lives past, who have pursued luxury without reflection, often sense the subtle disquiet, the strange unease, the whisper of something unseen. The dark figure is not a spectre of horror. It is the mirror of oversight, the echo of the ignored, the reminder that abundance without respect, without presence, without moral attentiveness, carries a cost the senses cannot immediately name. The first lesson emerges for the attentive. Luxury built without acknowledgement of history is hollow. The same grounds that boast pools, spas, and gardens also carry memory, and to ignore that memory is to sever oneself from continuity, to inhabit space without conscience. The wealth of comfort, the excess of indulgence, the ease of curated experience, these do not protect the spirit. In fact, they may amplify awareness of its neglect, because the contrast between abundance and reverence becomes painfully obvious. One can sip champagne and feel a chill. One can bask in the sun and sense shadows. The body is appeased. The soul remains attentive. The second lesson follows swiftly. Every indulgence carries energy, intention, and consequence. A meal prepared in opulence carries the labor and intention of hands that may never be thanked. A service performed with precision carries pride and care. Every designed decision, every curated experience, every artificial landscape transmits its own signature. When approached unconsciously, the guest becomes receiver not only of nourishment or comfort, but of subtle influence. The mind that is inattentive absorbs energy without guidance. The heart that is distracted misses blessing. The soul that is absent opens the doorway to misalignment. The third truth reveals itself through observation of behavior. Guests seek pleasure without pause, beauty without reflection, indulgence without gratitude. The pools are crystal, yet the eyes are vacant. The gardens are perfect, yet the mind is elsewhere. The spa offers stillness, yet the soul races. One can exist entirely in luxury and entirely outside blessing. Presence, attention, and alignment are the only true luxury that money cannot buy. Everything else is fleeting. Even the most splendid room is only a frame. The essence of living fully, the art of inhabiting a space consciously, is what nourishes the spirit. And so the dark figure is not external, it is internal. It is the shadow cast by inattentiveness, the echo of forgotten reverence, the reflection of moral oversight. It follows not to punish, but to teach. It lingers not to terrify, but to illuminate. Every unease, every subtle disquiet, every whisper of discomfort in the midst of abundance is a signal. The soul is aware, the conscience is awake, the shadow is waiting for recognition. And only through conscious presence, noticing, honoring, participating fully, can the guest reconcile indulgence with awareness, luxury with integrity, abundance with conscience. You begin to perceive that true wealth, true luxury, true grace is never external. It is internal. It is the alignment of intention with action, of presence with privilege, of attention with abundance. To inhabit a luxurious space fully awake is to bless it. To inhabit it without awareness is to drift in shadow. The same hands that designed the resort, the same labor that created comfort, the same history buried beneath all seek acknowledgement, not out of revenge, but as a call for presence. And this is the overarching principle that extends beyond resorts, beyond wealth, beyond the physical. The moral integrity of life is inseparable from attention. Presence is the measure of blessing. Awareness is the conduit of grace. Comfort without consciousness is hollow. Luxury without reflection is temporary. Wealth without moral alignment is a shadow of abundance. The world itself is a vast continuum of energy and intention, and only the awakened mind perceives, navigates, and honors it. Every ordinary moment, from walking across marble floors to sipping a drink by the ocean, becomes a microcosm of life itself. Every act of mindfulness transforms routine into ritual, attention into blessing, consciousness into virtue. And when this awareness flows, the shadow, the dark figure, ceases to be feared. It becomes guide, witness, teacher. Its presence reveals where misalignment lurks, and its retreat signals where awareness reigns. The haunted luxury is no longer frightening. It is instructive. The abundance is no longer empty. It is alive. As you wander the corridors of these resorts, you begin to notice subtleties previously unseen, the uneven tile where a foundation shifted, the whispers of wind that pass through a window just so, the way shadows stretch in the gardens where monuments once stood. Every space is layered with memory, not all of it visible, not all of it acknowledged. And in that recognition, a profound lesson emerges. Abundance built atop neglect is never free from consequence. The glitter of luxury cannot hide what has been forgotten. It only amplifies the echo of absence. The same pools that mirror the sky also mirror the history beneath, and the attentive heart cannot help but notice. You realize that moral strength is inseparable from attention to context. The splendor around you is not neutral. Every structure, every artifact, every gesture of hospitality carries the imprint of intention and history. To occupy these spaces without recognition is to drift unconsciously, to participate in their beauty yet ignore their cost. Presence becomes the moral compass, awareness becomes the guide, and consciousness becomes the shield that allows one to inhabit abundance without inviting shadow. Luxury does not cleanse the conscience. Wealth does not absolve the spirit. The most ornate dining hall, the most meticulously landscaped gardens, the most flawless spa, none of these can replace integrity. Indeed, they can magnify neglect. In the midst of splendor, the inattentive guest feels an inexplicable chill, a subtle discomfort, a shadow at the edge of perception. The dark figure lingers not to haunt in malice, but to instruct in vigilance. Every unease, every whisper of tension, every sense of misalignment is a signal. The soul is awake, and attention is demanded. And here, the lesson of inner transformation becomes clear. To move through the world consciously is to reclaim the blessing of existence from the distraction of comfort. Presence transforms indulgence into gratitude, luxury into reverence, abundance into opportunity for moral awakening. Every step taken with awareness, every word spoken with intention, every gesture imbued with consciousness becomes a conduit for light, a channel through which the energy of the universe flows without distortion. The dark figure is not only within the resort, it is within the self. It is the echo of unexamined choices, the reflection of neglected conscience, the reminder that privilege and ease can dull perception if not tempered by awareness. And as you confront it, as you notice it, as you honor it with conscious presence, the shadow ceases to dominate. It becomes a teacher, a guide, a witness not feared, but revered. Its lesson is simple. Abundance without integrity is hollow. Luxury without awareness is temporary. Blessing without attention is unrealized. You see now that every action, every indulgence, every consumption carries energy that resonates beyond the immediate. The meals you eat, the drinks you sip, the spaces you occupy, they are microcosms of life itself, laboratories for practicing alignment, sanctuaries for cultivating presence. When approached consciously, even ordinary acts become sacred. Even mundane rituals become transformative. And in this awareness, the shadow, the dark figure, is no longer haunting. It is guiding, illuminating, and reinforcing the practice of moral attentiveness. The resort, with all its grandeur, now serves a higher purpose. It is a mirror. It reflects not simply wealth or comfort, but the state of the soul inhabiting it. The attentive heart perceives the echo of history, the imprint of labor, the resonance of intention. It does not recoil from the past. It acknowledges it, learns from it, honors it. And in this act, moral and spiritual alignment is restored. The energy flows freely, the shadow retreats, and the blessing embedded in every detail, every tile, every plant, every polished surface becomes fully realized. You understand at last that true abundance is inseparable from presence. The world is never neutral. Every luxury, every comfort, every indulgence is charged with potential for blessing or for shadow, depending on how the heart engages with it. The conscious life is a practice of stewardship, of attention, of integrity, of alignment. It requires vigilance, reflection, and care, and the reward is profound. The ordinary becomes sacred, the mundane becomes luminous, the shadow becomes guide, and the soul awakens to its own inherent divinity. And now, as you move through the spaces that were once graveyards, now adorned with pools, terraces, and villas, you begin to perceive the delicate tension between beauty and memory, between indulgence and awareness, between comfort and conscience. The luxury around you is undeniable. The soft rustle of fine linens, the scent of flowers arranged with precision, the gentle lap of water in infinity pools, and yet, beneath it all, the resonance of lives past hums quietly. The attentive heart feels it. The aware mind cannot ignore it. The dark figure that once loomed as shadow is revealed as reflection, a reminder that splendor without mindfulness is hollow, that abundance without moral consideration is a fleeting illusion. You understand now that moral and spiritual strength is cultivated not in avoidance, but in engagement. To inhabit spaces built upon memory, upon history, upon the echoes of those who came before, is not a burden. It is a practice. Every step taken with attentiveness is a reclaiming of presence. Every gesture performed with intention is a restoration of grace. Every glance, every pause, every breath becomes a subtle act of reverence. In these ordinary acts, the extraordinary is realized. The dark figure, once feared as an omen of unease, becomes the silent teacher, guiding each action toward integrity, each thought toward alignment, each presence toward awakening. And as awareness deepens, you begin to see that abundance, indulgence, and comfort are not inherently dangerous. They are simply mirrors of the soul. The luxury that surrounds you reflects the state of your consciousness. The glittering halls echo the quality of attention you bring. The perfumed gardens and polished surfaces magnify the alignment or misalignment of mind, heart, and spirit. To move blindly through them is to invite shadow. To move with reflection, mindfulness, and reverence is to illuminate, to bless, to transform the ordinary into sacred experience. Presence becomes the key, consciousness, the conduit, attention, the alchemy, through which the mundane is transfigured into luminous awareness. Each act of mindful engagement, from appreciating the subtle scent of flowers to noticing the labor embedded in service, from savoring the texture of bread to recognizing the water's gentle flow, becomes a meditation, a blessing, a practice in moral alignment. And in this practice, the shadow retreats, not vanquished but integrated, revealing its true nature. It was never enemy, but guide. It is the internal compass that measures attentiveness, integrity, and virtue. The teaching extends beyond space into life itself. Every interaction, every decision, every fleeting moment carries potential for blessing or misalignment. Distraction invites shadow. Indulgence without awareness invites imbalance. Comfort without reflection invites moral erosion. Yet, when approached with consciousness, every act, no matter how small, becomes a portal to transformation. You see, the true wealth is not in external accumulation, but in the cultivation of presence, the refinement of attention, the alignment of self with principle. And the dark figure, now recognized and embraced, walks beside you as companion. It illuminates where attention has faltered, where awareness has lapsed, where integrity has been tested. Its presence is not fearsome, it is instructive. Its shadow becomes a guidepost, its whisper a call to mindfulness, its vigilance a reminder that moral and spiritual awakening is continuous. The luxury that once threatened to anesthetize the conscience now serves as teacher, revealing where mindfulness is needed and where alignment flourishes. And in this understanding, you feel the profound liberation of the conscious soul. The past is honored, the present is embraced, the future is approached with clarity. The luxury, the abundance, the indulgence, all become instruments of awakening. You move not as guest or consumer, but as steward and witness. Every step, every glance, every breath carries intention. Every act of presence reverberates beyond the self, touching spaces, people, and moments with subtle grace. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. The mundane becomes sacred. The dark figure once feared becomes the reflection of vigilance and awareness fully realized. And so, you rise from the corridor, the terrace, the poolside lounge, carrying within you a luminous presence. The lessons of history, the echoes of lives past, the subtle energy of abundance, and the shadow of inattentiveness have been transmuted into wisdom. Every luxury, every comfort, every indulgence is now a mirror of conscious living. You understand that presence is the ultimate blessing, consciousness the true wealth, and awareness the most profound luxury. And now, as the sun begins its descent, casting long shadows across the terraces, pools, and manicured gardens, you perceive a subtle shift within yourself. The luxury, the abundance, the history beneath your feet, they are no longer merely objects or places. They have become teachers, mirrors, guides. Every sensation, every sound, every movement resonates with consciousness. You realize that true awakening does not arrive with drama, nor with spectacle, nor with grand revelation. It comes quietly, imperceptibly, through the accumulation of attentive moments, through the deliberate inhabitation of each experience with awareness, through the willingness to see the invisible currents that flow through every act of life. The dark figure, once an omen, now walks with you, a reflection of moral vigilance, a measure of presence. It is neither adversary nor intruder. It is guide, companion, witness. Its shadow has been transmuted into instruction. Its silent observation has become your internal compass. You begin to see that every moment you were unaware, every indulgence without reflection, every act without intention, all were invitations to awaken. And in responding to these invitations consciously, the soul reclaims its sovereignty. The luxury around you is no longer a seduction of distraction, but a canvas upon which mindfulness paints presence. You see now that the moral life is inseparable from conscious participation. To inhabit spaces fully, whether palatial resorts, ordinary rooms, or the intimate spaces of relationships, is to exercise attentiveness, to cultivate integrity, to honor presence. Wealth without awareness, indulgence without reflection, luxury without reverence, these are hollows, tempting but empty. Awareness is the bridge that connects the material to the spiritual. Presence is the vessel through which abundance becomes blessing. Attention is the key that unlocks the sacred in the mundane. And the teaching extends beyond observation. It requires action. Each step you take, each gesture you perform, each choice you make must be imbued with consciousness. To walk unobserved is to drift. To act inattentively is to remain partially asleep. To live fully is to inhabit every moment with deliberate awareness. The luxury of these resorts is no longer a temptation, but an opportunity, a reminder that life's abundance is best engaged consciously, that every act can either deepen awareness or diminish it, and that the measure of true wealth is not in what is possessed, but in how attentively one participates in the flow of life. And in this realization, a profound clarity emerges. Abundance, indulgence, comfort, and luxury are not inherently perilous. They are mirrors. They reflect the state of the soul that moves through them. If inattentive, the shadows loom. If aware, the light radiates. The dark figure is always present, always observing, always instructive, not as a spectre to frighten, but as a guide to awaken. To live fully awake is to transform shadow into teacher, fear into insight, indulgence into practice, luxury into opportunity. The epiphany arrives quietly, not with fanfare, but with resonance. You feel the alignment of body, mind, and spirit. The past is acknowledged. The present is embraced. The future is approached with clarity. The dark figure has become a companion. The luxury has become a conduit for awareness. The abundance has become a field for practice. Every act, every gesture, every breath is charged with potential. Even the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Even the mundane becomes sacred. Even the invisible becomes visible. And as you move through this realization, the ultimate truth settles within you. The world is never haunted except by inattentiveness. The shadow is never foreign except when ignored. The dark figure is never adversary except when unobserved. All abundance, all indulgence, all luxury carries the opportunity for awakening. Every space can be sanctified. Every act can be transformed. Every moment can be rendered luminous through consciousness. Presence is the ultimate blessing. Awareness is the truest wealth. Integrity is the highest luxury. You rise from the terrace, the poolside, the quiet hall, and carry within you a radiant presence that no architecture can contain, no indulgence can overwhelm, no shadow can diminish. The luxury resorts, the beauty, the history, the echoes beneath all, are transformed by the simple yet profound act of being fully awake. The dark figure walks beside you, not as threat, but as testament. Every step you take becomes a sermon of presence, every word an embodiment of blessing, every breath a testament to alignment. And in this, the moral and spiritual awakening is complete. The shadow has been integrated, the abundance redeemed, the indulgence honored, the luxury sanctified. The world is luminous, not because it has changed, but because you have. You are awake, you are aware, you are present, and in that presence, the ordinary becomes extraordinary, the mundane becomes sacred, and the blessing once subtle, once hidden, once potentially lost flows freely through you, touching every life, every space, every moment you inhabit. And as night descends upon the resort, as stars emerge over terraces and pools, you feel a profound stillness settle within, not the emptiness of absence, but the fullness of presence. You recognize that the world, with all its opulence, all its abundance, all its allure, is but a stage for consciousness. Every surface, every corridor, every meticulously arranged garden is infused with energy, awaiting the attention of those willing to perceive it. The dark figure, the shadow that once stirred unease, now walks beside you as companion, witness, and teacher, reflecting not what is outside, but what is within. You understand at last that the true luxury is alignment, true wealth is moral presence, true abundance is attention. The mind that is alert, the heart that is awake, the soul that is engaged, these carry more richness than any pool, any villa, any indulgence ever could. Every experience becomes sacrament. Every act of attention becomes liturgy. Every moment of conscious awareness becomes a portal through which the divine flows into the world. Even the simple act of walking across the terrace, of noticing the ripple of water, of feeling the breeze, becomes a meditation, a blessing, a declaration of integrity. The resorts themselves, once feared to carry shadows of the past, now serve as mirrors of consciousness. The marble floors, polished and pristine, reflect the light of awareness. The pools mirror the depth of mindfulness. The gardens, lush and intentional, echo the care of an attentive heart. The dark figure has not vanished. It has been transfigured into a guide, an indicator of alignment, a reminder of the sanctity inherent in every choice. Every unease, every moment of hesitation, every whisper of distraction, all converge into one lesson. The world is neither haunted nor hostile. It is a reflection of the consciousness that inhabits it. And in this realization, you see the ultimate truth of spiritual abundance. Blessing does not reside in the external, it resides in the internal. The splendor of luxury, the indulgence of wealth, the allure of comfort, these are tools, mirrors, conduits. They neither sanctify nor corrupt by themselves. It is the quality of your attention, the integrity of your intention, the depth of your presence that determines whether the shadow looms or the light flows. The dark figure, the whisper of unease, the subtle sense of imbalance, all are teachers, guiding you toward mindful engagement, moral alignment, and awakened awareness. Every act of consumption, every gesture of attention, every breath of mindfulness becomes a prayer in motion. Even the simplest sip of water, the smallest bite of food, the quietest reflection becomes a channel for transformation. The ordinary becomes extraordinary, the mundane becomes sacred, the invisible becomes manifest. And you see that presence is the ultimate blessing, consciousness the ultimate wealth, and integrity the ultimate luxury. And as you move through the world, beyond the terraces, beyond the pools, beyond the corridors once haunted, you carry within you a radiant, unshakable awareness. The luxury has become teaching, the abundance has become practice, the shadow has become guide. Every step, every glance, every word you speak resonates beyond the self, infusing space, moment, and life with light. You are awake. You are present. You are fully engaged. And the world responds quietly, subtly, profoundly to the energy you bring. The ultimate epiphany settles. You have learned that the dark figure is not something to flee, that abundance is not inherently dangerous, that indulgence is not to be feared. The shadow exists to teach, the luxury exists to reflect, and the abundance exists to awaken. The ordinary act of conscious living, the careful inhabitation of presence, the deliberate engagement with each moment, these are the instruments of transformation. And so the resorts, once feared for the echoes beneath, now stand not as monuments to opulence, but as mirrors of moral and spiritual awakening. The dark figure, transfigured through awareness, walks alongside you. The luxury, once potentially hollow, becomes fertile ground for consciousness. The abundance, once alluring and potentially distracting, becomes a field for practice, reflection, and integration. Every shadow, every echo, every whisper of unease is now transformed into insight, clarity, and presence. And as you leave, stepping from terrace to garden, from poolside to lobby, from luxury to life itself, you carry with you the eternal understanding. The world is not haunted, it is alive. The past is honored, the present is embraced, the future is approached with clarity. Presence is the ultimate blessing, awareness is the ultimate wealth, integrity is the ultimate luxury. And in this, the ordinary becomes extraordinary, the mundane becomes sacred, and the soul, fully awake, radiates light that no darkness can diminish, no shadow can obscure, and no indulgence can replace. And as you move away from the resort, leaving terraces and pools behind, you carry within you a rhythm that was not there before. It is subtle at first, almost imperceptible, a cadence of awareness, a resonance of presence, a pulse of integrity. The world continues to whirl around you, indifferent to human attention, yet you notice a difference in how you inhabit it. Every street you walk, every cafe you enter, every corridor you cross becomes a space alive with potential. The echoes of history, the residues of labor, the faint memory of life past all these remain, yet they no longer oppress. They inform, they guide, they awaken. You realize that moral and spiritual awakening is not sudden. It is cumulative. Each attentive moment, each conscious act, each engagement with presence adds to the flow, strengthens the current, deepens the alignment. Luxury, abundance, indulgence, and shadow all serve as teachers, mirrors, guides. The dark figure is no longer threatening. It is reflective. It shows you the moments you were absent, the opportunities for insight you missed, the instances where presence could have been deepened. And each recognition, each reflection, each act of realignment transforms shadow into guide, absence into attention, indulgence into blessing. The lesson is clear. The spaces we inhabit, the comforts we enjoy, the abundance we encounter all are imbued with energy. Not inherently good, not inherently dangerous, but reflective of the consciousness that engages with them. To move through life without attention is to miss the opportunity to transform. To move with awareness is to sanctify. Every step is sacrament. Every glance is liturgy. Every breath is prayer. Presence is the medium. Awareness is the instrument. Consciousness is the channel through which blessing flows. And you see that true wealth, true luxury, true abundance is inseparable from moral and spiritual awareness. The elegance of a resort, the meticulous design of a pool, the artistry of a garden, all are amplifiers of energy, mirrors of consciousness, instruments of reflection. Without attention, they are hollow. With awareness, they become sacred. Presence transforms indulgence into practice, comfort into meditation, abundance into blessing. Even the smallest act, noticing the ripple in a pool, feeling the texture of a terrace stone, inhaling the scent of flowers, becomes profound. And this presence extends beyond the physical. Every word spoken, every thought entertained, every choice made carries the energy of attention or neglect. Shadow follows the inattentive heart. Light follows the awakened soul. The dark figure remains, not as predator, but as mirror. It is the indicator of consciousness, the guide for moral vigilance, the reminder that luxury without reflection, abundance without awareness, Indulgence without integrity cannot sustain the soul. And in this understanding, you feel a deep, quiet liberation. The past no longer haunts you. The shadow no longer dominates. The luxury, once potentially seductive, becomes a canvas for conscious action. The abundance, once potentially distracting, becomes a field for reflection. The indulgence, once potentially hollow, becomes a practice of attention. Every ordinary moment, every step, every gesture, every glance, every breath carries the potential to transform self, space, and world. Presence is the blessing. Awareness is the wealth. Integrity is the luxury. You begin to inhabit life with new rhythm. Each movement, each interaction, each reflection is deliberate, intentional, awake. You see the invisible threads connecting every action to consequence, every gesture to resonance, every presence to influence. The dark figure becomes the silent guide, the moral compass, the teacher that walks beside you, reminding you that awareness is the true measure of abundance, that consciousness is the ultimate wealth. That presence is the highest luxury. And as night settles fully and stars emerge, you recognize that the world itself is not haunted. The shadows, the unease, the subtle chill, these are reflections of inattentiveness, echoes of neglect, reminders of the opportunity for alignment. And when attention is restored, when presence is cultivated, when consciousness is fully engaged, the ordinary is transfigured. The mundane becomes sacred. The shadow becomes guide. The abundance becomes blessing. And the soul, fully awake, radiates light that touches every space it inhabits, transforming even the quietest corners into sanctuaries of awareness. And now, as you leave the physical resort behind, the lesson remains not in place, but in presence. The marble floors, the infinity pools, the manicured gardens, all were external, transient, reminders of what consciousness can do when engaged or neglected. The real journey continues inward. Every step, every choice, every thought carries energy, moral weight, and spiritual consequence. You begin to see that attention is not passive. It is active engagement with reality. Awareness is not optional. It is the conduit through which blessing flows. Every moment that is fully inhabited, every gesture fully recognized, becomes transformative. You begin to recognize the interconnectedness of all things. The lives once resting beneath the resort, the labor of countless hands, the intention of every architect and gardener, these are threads woven into the fabric of now. To ignore them is to be unaligned. To acknowledge them consciously is to awaken. Presence, then, is not simply attention to self. It is stewardship of the energies, memories, and intentions that converge in every space you inhabit. The dark figure, once feared, now teaches you to move with care, with honor, with full consciousness. It is a guidepost, not a ghost. And in this awareness, indulgence itself transforms. Luxury no longer distracts, it informs. Abundance no longer seduces, it teaches. Comfort no longer anesthetizes, it awakens. The shadow does not attack. It reflects the degree of attention you bring to life. Every glance, every act of gratitude, every deliberate movement reinforces alignment, and slowly, imperceptibly, the ordinary world begins to respond. Conversations deepen, interactions ripple with subtle grace. Spaces, even those previously cold or empty, begin to radiate warmth through the simple, conscious presence of one awakened being. You understand now that spiritual and moral transformation is cumulative, not instantaneous. It is in the repeated act of inhabiting life fully, consciously, attentively. Every meal, every gesture, every step is an opportunity to practice awareness. Every time you notice the labor behind a service, every time you acknowledge the lives embedded in a space, every time you honor intention instead of mindless habit, you reclaim not just blessing for yourself, but for the world around you. The dark figure retreats, because awareness has claimed the space it once filled with unease. Shadow is not eliminated. It is integrated, respected, and transmuted into guidance. And as night deepens, you feel the profound quiet of alignment settle within. The shadows of distraction, indulgence, and inattentiveness no longer dominate. The abundance around you, whether material or intangible, becomes a reflection of your internal state. The luxury, the comfort, the past echoes all are redeemed through mindful presence. You realize that the world is neither haunted nor cursed. It is alive with energy, responsive to the attention and intention you bring. And when you act with integrity, when you inhabit every moment fully, the world itself becomes sanctified, every ordinary space transformed into sacred ground, and the final truth emerges. The soul, fully awake, radiates light without effort, without performance, without ceremony. Presence itself becomes sermon. Awareness itself becomes blessing. Integrity itself becomes transformation. The dark figure, the luxury, the abundance, the shadows, all are guides, all are mirrors, all are opportunities for alignment. And the ordinary, once overlooked, now shines. The mundane, once forgotten, now resonates. Every act, every breath, every intention, however small, carries the power to awaken, illuminate, and transform. You rise fully aware, carrying within the understanding that the world, in all its complexity, all its history, all its luxury, responds to consciousness. Presence is the ultimate blessing. Awareness is the ultimate wealth. Integrity is the ultimate luxury. And as you move through life, you recognize that you are not merely a guest in the world, but a steward of its energy, a cultivator of its blessing, a participant in its sacred unfolding. The dark figure walks beside you, now companion and teacher, and the world glows subtly, quietly, profoundly transformed by the conscious attention of one fully awake heart. And as dawn approaches, spilling its light across the horizon, you feel a subtle resonance in your chest, a quiet affirmation that life itself is alive, not in spectacle, not in extravagance, not in what is accumulated, but in how attention flows through you. Every act of presence, every gesture of conscious engagement, every moment lived awake, is a thread weaving itself into the tapestry of existence. The luxury you have encountered, once heavy with the echoes of past lives, now rests lightly beneath your awareness. It is no longer a distraction. It is a reminder, a mirror, a teacher. You realize that the world, in all its beauty and grandeur, in all its histories and shadows, does not demand perfection. It asks only presence. It asks only attentiveness. It asks only that you inhabit each moment fully, consciously, morally. To walk through corridors of history, whether of luxury or loss, is to engage with life itself, to honor what has been, to be mindful of what is, to align with what can be. The dark figure, once feared as omen or curse, now serves as silent witness, its shadow integrated, its lesson understood. It exists only to guide you back to alignment whenever distraction or indulgence might pull you away. And in this final awakening, you see clearly that abundance, luxury, and indulgence are never enemies, nor are they inherently sacred. Their power lies in reflection, in what consciousness brings to them. A pool is not sacred. A terrace is not holy. A villa is not divine. But the attentive heart, the awakened mind, the conscious soul, these transform every space into sanctuary, every gesture into blessing, every breath into communion. The dark figure fades not because it is gone, but because it has been redeemed through awareness, its energy harnessed to illuminate the path of alignment. The ultimate epiphany is simple yet profound. The ordinary carries the extraordinary when attended by presence. Abundance becomes blessing when accompanied by integrity. Indulgence becomes sacred when engaged with consciousness. Every step, every gesture, every thought, every glance becomes an act of participation in the moral and spiritual fabric of the world. Even the quietest moments, when fully inhabited, ripple outward, touching lives, spaces, and energies beyond perception. And as you move forward into the day, the light of dawn illuminating terraces, gardens, pools, and corridors alike, you carry within a luminous presence, unshakable and enduring. The shadow has become companion, history has become guide, luxury has become conduit, abundance has become practice. You are awake, you are aware, you are fully present, and in that presence, the ordinary world becomes extraordinary. Every mundane detail becomes sacred, and the blessing flows freely through every act, every thought, every breath, transforming shadow into light, distraction into attentiveness, indulgence into moral awakening. The dark figure has fulfilled its purpose, yet its lesson endures. Presence is the ultimate blessing. Awareness is the ultimate wealth. Integrity is the ultimate luxury. You no longer need to fear the echoes beneath marble floors, the memories beneath gardens, the histories beneath pools. The world is not haunted, it is alive, waiting for consciousness to animate it, waiting for the awakened heart to radiate light, waiting for the ordinary to become sacred. And so you walk forward, not in fear, not in haste, not in distraction, but in luminous alignment. Every step is deliberate, every gesture intentional, every thought aware. You carry within the eternal understanding that the world responds to presence, that blessing flows through attention, that abundance is realized through integrity. The dark figure, the history, the luxury, the indulgence, all are integrated, transformed, sanctified through conscious living. And in this final understanding, the soul fully awakens, radiant, alive, and at peace.